In the vast desert expanses where the horizon merges with the sky, a 1,000-year-old story still resonates today in the hearts of millions of believers. It is the extraordinary tale of a father, a son, and an unshakable faith that has spanned the ages. Imagine a distant time, when men sought their way among idols and superstitions. Into this world emerged Abraham, a man whose quest for truth would turn the history of humanity upside down. His deep conviction in one God set him apart from his contemporaries. But despite his exemplary devotion, something was missing from his life, an heir who would perpetuate his message. The years went by, and Sarah, Abraham's wife, remained barren. Their prayers seemed to be lost in the immensity of the sky. Then came Hagar, an Egyptian servant in the service of Sarah. It was through her that the long-awaited miracle occurred. Abraham was finally to know the joy of being a father. The news of Hagar's pregnancy was greeted as a divine sign, a response to years of supplications. When Ishmael was born, Abraham's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. This son, the fruit of a divine promise, carried within him the hope of a blessed lineage. Ismael's early years were shaped by his father's teachings. Abraham passed on his faith to him with patience and love, forging a bond between them that transcended the simple father-son relationship. But fate had a heartbreaking test in store for this family. By divine command, Abraham had to lead Hagar and young Ishmael into the heart of the Paran desert. Imagine this heart-rending moment. A father forced to abandon his son and his son's mother in the hostility of an arid and unforgiving environment. With a few provisions and a heavy heart, Abraham left them, submitting to the will of God. Alone in the vastness of the desert, Hagar and Ishmael soon faced the most terrible of threats: thirst. Their provisions quickly ran out under the scorching sun. Seeing her son suffer, Hagar was seized with a despair that drove her to action. In a gesture that millions of pilgrims still commemorate today, she ran frantically between the hills of Safa and Marwa, scanning the horizon in search of a sign, a caravan, a source of water. 7 times she covered this distance, carried by maternal love and hope. Then one of the most emblematic miracles in this story occurred. Under Ishmael's little feet, a spring suddenly gushed forth from the arid ground. The water of Zamzam, as it is now called, not only saved the life of the child and his mother, but became an eternal symbol of divine mercy in the most desperate of moments. This miracle marked the beginning of a new life for Ishmael. Over the years, he grew and developed in this hostile environment, becoming a young man remarkable for his strength, character, and wisdom. The desert, far from being a place of exile, became the cradle of his identity and his mission. Ismael integrated himself into the nomadic tribes of the region, notably that of Jurhum, whose woman he married. His growing influence among these people was a testament to his exceptional qualities, inherited from his father and forged by hardship. Meanwhile, Abraham, separated from his beloved son, continued his own mission while keeping Ismael in his daily prayers. The years passed, creating a geographical distance between them that never diminished the strength of their spiritual bond. Then came the day of the reunion. By divine command, Abraham returned to the desert to see his son again. Can you imagine the emotion of these two men, separated for so long, finally reunited by the will of the one they served so ardently? But this reunion was not just an opportunity to rekindle memories. A sacred mission awaited them. Together, they had to rebuild the Kaaba, the original sanctuary that tradition attributes to Adam. Stone by stone, father and son erected what would become the spiritual center of Islam, the point towards which billions of followers would direct their prayers over the centuries. This sacred collaboration between Abraham and Ishmael symbolized the continuity of the monotheistic faith and the establishment of a unifying place for believers. The Kaaba, more than just a building, became the physical embodiment of their devotion and submission to God. The story of Ishmael reaches its emotional climax with the episode of the sacrifice. Abraham, through repeated visions, received a divine order to sacrifice his son. This request, of unimaginable difficulty, tested not only the faith of the father, but also that of the son. With extraordinary courage, Abraham shared these visions with Ishmael. The young man's reaction reveals the depth of his own faith. Far from fleeing or questioning, he encouraged his father to obey the divine order, ready to offer his life as a testimony of his absolute submission. The fateful day arrived. Abraham, his heart torn but resolute, led his son to the place designated for the sacrifice. Ishmael, with astonishing serenity, lay down to receive his destiny. The whole universe seemed to hold its breath in anticipation of this moment of supreme self-sacrifice. Then divine mercy intervened. Just as Abraham was about to make the irreversible gesture, an angel stopped him. A ram miraculously appeared, destined to replace Ishmael in the sacrifice. This divine substitution demonstrated that the test concerned the disposition of the heart, not the act itself. This transcendent event is commemorated every year by Muslims during Eid al-Adha, a reminder that true faith sometimes means being prepared to give up what we hold most dear. After this ultimate test, Ishmael continued his life in Mecca, becoming a central figure in the establishment of monotheism in the region. His influence extended far beyond his tribe, laying the spiritual foundations that, centuries later, would welcome the message of Islam. The descendants of Ishmael prospered and multiplied, giving rise to numerous Arab tribes. This blessed lineage carried within it the promise made to Abraham, ultimately culminating in the advent of the Prophet Muhammad, considered to be a direct descendant of Ishmael. Even today, when millions of pilgrims crowd around the Kaaba, drink the water from the Zamzam well, or run between Safa and Marwa, they relive the story of Ishmael. Their every gesture echoes this epic tale of faith, perseverance, and submission to the divine will. The story of Ishmael speaks to us across the centuries because it touches on the universal. It reminds us that the most difficult trials can hide unexpected blessings, that true faith is expressed in action, and that even in the most arid deserts of our lives, unexpected springs can gush forth. This story also teaches us patience in the face of adversity, confidence in moments of uncertainty, and the importance of passing on our values to future generations. Ishmael's life, marked by painful separations and miraculous reunions, shows us how faith can transform a place of exile into a land of blessing. In our modern world, where so many seek meaning in their existence, the story of Ishmael offers a model of life guided by principles greater than oneself. It invites us to reflect on our own spiritual heritage and on what we wish to pass on to those who will follow us. Thus, the story of Ishmael continues to resonate in our hearts, not as a mere history of the past, but as a living source of inspiration and wisdom to face the challenges of our time. His example reminds us that even the most humble beginnings can give birth to an eternal legacy when they are nourished by sincere faith and unshakable determination.